All right, everybody, welcome back. Yeah, there you go. Now you're awake. All right, if you can make your way to your seats, we're going to start right now. So here we are. We're getting ready for our closing session, and we've had a great summit so far, right? I mean, come on, have we? I know there's only a smattering, but there you go. Thank you. And yet we've saved the best for last. Everyone loves athletes. That's what sports is all about. That's why we're fans. That's why we're here. That's what we're going to deliver to you next. But before we get that, I'm just blown away by how awesome this summit has been. So I just wanted to remind you, we talked about the power of partnerships, right? That was our theme for the whole thing. Well, look at some of these partnerships. First day on Monday, Green Apple Day of Service. That's the best kind of partnership in the world, right? Doing something back for the community, working at Yes Prep. Tuesday morning, we got a lot of our corporate partners in for a thought leadership forum. Followed by the women's sports and the environment. Followed by the venue tours. All leading up to our opening plenary. KJ. No, he was late. Flight delayed. So what happens? We're in sports, right? So we ad-lib, we called an audible, and we pulled together Paul Hanlon from MLB, Catherine Coomer from NASCAR, and Omar Mitchell from the NHL, and we rocked the opening night. A great opening session, which actually benefited us, because then we had KJ on top of that first thing Wednesday morning. Bigger than basketball, and one of the big things that was announced there, Summit 2017, Sacramento Kings, brand new building. We're there. And I think I told you this earlier. You can register now. It's open online. So if you're excited, you don't want this to end. Isn't that what you told me earlier? Yeah. You don't want this to end? Well, it doesn't have to. It can extend all the way to next year. So then we went into yesterday. We had our first athletes engagement meeting. You heard on the panel here from MLB earlier how important everyone believes at the league level, at the ownership, from everyone that athletes need to be involved. Well, not only are you going to hear from them today, but we had our first athletes engagement meeting yesterday where the Green Sports Alliance is going to come up with our own platform to help athletes get engaged in this space, to help connect through the leagues, through the individual organizations, with the corporate and community partners. And then, of course, we went to the game last night, a 3-1 victory. We gave away our Innovation Awards. We gave away our Environmental Leadership Award to our newest board member, Andrew Ferrens. Round of applause again for Andrew. All leading up to today. Opening with Ray Anderson. What a sense of commitment that guy has and what he's doing at Arizona State. And then we had our sports and sustainability and social equity. This is not a topic that you're going to hear at a lot of other sustainability or sports conferences or anything combination. We're bringing in the full meaning of sustainability at a human level. And then, of course, our fabulous MLB sustainability spotlight with our owners and our heads of operations, all leading up to chatting with the champs, which is coming up next. And so what does all of this mean? What is this? Well, what do we say we are? We're leagues, we're owners, we're venue operators, we're corporate partners, we're athletes, community partners. And a big shout out, by the way, I had apologies here, this is on me. I neglected to thank formally from the stage. We have a massive amount of community partners supporting us here from all over the country. So please, can we have a round of applause specifically for our community partners who are helping make this possible? So leagues, owners, venue operators, corporate partners, athletes, community partners, teams, teachers, media folks, writers, editors, and volunteers. What do we have in common? We're all people. And that's what partnership is all about, the relationships between people. So yeah, we need ROI, absolutely. We have to justify our operations, our spending. That's necessary, but that's not sufficient. We have a call to be engaged in this space, to persist, to work hard, to have fun, and to love. And if you love what you're doing, and if you love the people you're doing it with, and if you love why you're doing this, then your commitment will get you to where you need to be. Now, sadly, as within life, sometimes we lose people that we love, and we've had some notable losses recently in the sports world. So I'd like to take a moment of silence, if we could here, for three of the greats that we've lost very recently: Pat Summitt, Gordie Howe, and Muhammad Ali. And while we have this moment of silence, we're all people. Let's extend this out. We've had some tragedies recently overseas and in Orlando. Let's just take a moment and reflect and be grateful. Thank you. All right, now the time is at hand. We are ready to go to our Chatting with the Champs, and I've got to introduce first Angela Woods from ESPN, because Angela is going to introduce the individuals. This session is going to be sponsored by OSI Soft, our great partners, and let me just tell you a little bit about Angela. She was named Director of Corporate Outreach in June 2013 for ESPN. And so in that responsibility comes leading the corporate outreach staff in the planning and execution of all the day-to-day efforts, volunteerism, cause-related projects, charitable giving, and she'll also develop the strategic plans and the impact metrics for corporate outreach. We're always talking about metrics, measurement. What does that mean, and how does that help us? As well as overseeing the program planning for the U.S. regional and international offices, and most recently, Angela served as Director of Foundation and Community Affairs for Darden Restaurants, where she oversaw the Darden Restaurants Foundation and charitable corporate giving. So without further ado, I'd like to ask you all to please join me in a huge welcome, Angela Woods.
Good afternoon. I know I stand between you and the end of the day, so we will make this brief and bring up the folks that you most importantly wanted to hear today. So thank you for having me. As this panel seeks to explore how current and former athletes have stepped up to the plate to really step in for environmental efforts and to help amplify their efforts, we at ESPN also tried to do similar through our media platforms and talk about our sustainability commitment in three priority areas. Our commitment to the company as we strive towards meeting our 2020 environmental targets and investing in environmental sustainability strategy around water, waste, and energy reduction. Our commitment to the community and our sports fans and how we engage with them in sustainability efforts at remote production events like summer and winter X Games, College Game Day for you college football fans, and the ESPY Awards, which are just a couple of weeks away. We use those events to talk about how we want to reduce our environmental impact while engaging fans who are in attendance. And finally, but most importantly, our commitment to the environment, where we work to minimize our environmental footprint, improve the health of the planet, and inspire others to do the same. Our environmentality is infused throughout the company, driving building design, procurement decisions, and event logistics. We actively manage our energy, water, and waste consumption, and we invest resources in organizations that are working to protect and preserve the places where we live, work, and play, and particularly the places where our fans will play sports for generations to come. Thanks to our partnership with Green Sports Alliance, over the last year, we believe we're in a stronger position to continue to build upon our environmental sustainability strategy and amplify the conversations with sports fans and hopefully inspiring them to do the same. So certainly, this panel speaks to what's important to ESPN as a company, as a media broadcaster, and certainly it speaks to our fans. So without further ado, I'd like to welcome to the stage your closing plenary panel of the 2016 Green Sports Alliance Summit, Chatting with the Champs. We have the privilege of once again hearing from Abe Madkour, Executive Editor of the SportsBusiness Journal, as the moderator of this session. Please help me to welcome him to the stage. Thank you. And then we have four very distinguished panelists joining us. First, Ovie Mughelli, founder of the Ovie Mughelli Foundation and former two-time All-Pro fullback for the National Football League, demonstrates dedication and drive both on and off the field. He spends the majority of his time empowering our nation's youth and educating the public on living an ecologically friendly lifestyle to increase environmental sustainability. He's established ongoing efforts to provide green sports camps, most notably Recycle on the Run, which produces a synergy of athletic participation and fosters environmental stewardship. Ovie, please join us. Next, we have joining us Charlie Enright. I understand Charlie's favorite activity back home is cooking. All right. A young Rhode Island native who's already accumulated thousands of offshore miles and inshore racing results, including a transatlantic and Rolex Fastnet race in 2011. Before dedicating his full time to the Volvo Ocean Race campaign, Charlie was working at North Sails, Rhode Island, and managed multiple sailing campaigns for All-American Ocean Racing. Charlie, please join us. I love that cooking part. Cooking. Next, we have Brody Leven, a professional human-powered adventure skier. I'm most fascinated to learn more about that. Since creating a career from scratch after university, where he served as a student body president, his adventures are featured in films, podcasts, TV, and print. While climbing and skiing first descents throughout the world's steep, remote mountains, he intimately experiences the environment and its changes. Brody is a 2016 Outdoor Industry 30 Under 30 Power Award recipient, speaker, and writer. He attended COP21, testifies to the EPA, speaks about climate change in the outdoors with Congress and school children alike on behalf of Protect Our Winters, and is one of the outdoor industry's most engaged environmental storytellers. Brody, please join us. Woo. And last but most important, because girls rule, we'd like to welcome Anya Alvarez. Anya is a former professional golfer, LPGA golfer, who found a passion in helping other female athletes find and use their voice. She founded Major League Women, which is dedicated to telling the story of women in sports, no matter their status as an athlete. She also freelances for ESPN in various publications, highlighting mostly women and the contributions they make in sports. As a survivor of sexual assault, Anya is also a spokesperson for Kids Safe Foundation, dedicated to bring awareness on how to prevent future assaults. Anya's main motto she lives by is, never, ever let anyone tell you no who isn't in the power to say yes. I love that. Please, Anya, join us. You rock, girl. Turn it over to you.
Thank you, Angela. How's everyone doing? How about we need a round of applause for the people in the audience, because these are the hardcore, sticking it out. 3 great days, and still here. Good for you. Good for you. So we're also going to have a lot of fun. I've done a lot of panels in my day, and I've never felt so, I would say, small in my accomplishments and my travels and what I've done. Hearing the stories of what these individuals have done in their careers, what they're continuing to do, the adventures they seek and the adventures they complete. I was just motivated when I was reading everything about it, so I think you're in for a real treat. This is your session, so again, be ready with your questions. We're going to talk a lot about sustainability, environmental causes. We're going to talk about corporate social responsibility, but we're also going to talk storytelling. They're athletes, they've got some great stories, their accomplishments have been fantastic. What I'd ask them each to do is, though, take a minute or two and talk a little bit about why they're here, what's their interest in the space that we are covering, and what led them into that. So with that, I'm going to start with Ovie, and I know that some of you have slides, and I guess this is for you if you do have slides, because I don't know how to work those things.
I'm terrible with slides,
So
but
there you are.
That's me. The Atlanta Falcons. I was a 2-time All-Pro NFL fullback. Played 6 years with Atlanta Falcons, 4 years with the Baltimore Ravens. I had a wonderful career. I never thought in my wildest dreams that, I'd go to the Pro Bowl. I'm hanging out with Peyton Manning and Tom Brady, and I'm just me. Like, I'm Charleston, Nigerian, Southern Board, just regular kid who liked to play football, was kind of good at it, and things worked out. But I also knew that I had a bigger purpose. I knew when I put my head on the pillow at night, I wanted to be more than just a football player or an athlete. So I was always a big advocate of trying to help kids be the best version of themselves, but I didn't know what else I can do. I was blessed to run into Ted Turner and his daughter, Laura Turner Seidel, in Atlanta when Arthur Blank, and billionaire, was hanging out with Ted Turner, billionaire, and the two billionaires were just talking, and they had a little event, wine and cheese, shaking hands, kissing babies, and I like people, so I like talking. And so they invited me to come, but I started a conversation with Laura Turner Seidel about, if you love kids, what's the best way to help them? And I was like, I don't know, tell me. She was like, the environment. I'm like, nah, global warming's not an issue. It's cold in winter. Oh, come on. Laura, you're so silly. And that's how ignorant I was. I just didn't know any better. And once I realized that if you care about your kids, you got to care about the environment. If you love your kids, you have to love the environment. That's when it became real to me. I wanted to know everything I could about global warming, climate change, carbon footprint. I wanted to do everything I could because I knew I had a platform where I can affect some change. So.
All right. Charlie.
Got my own mic here. So I guess we're going to go from an NFL fullback to a guy who likes to cook at home.
Yeah.
It's quite the lead-in. But if you read the slide, it also says I'm the skipper and co-founder of 55 South, which is a sailing team. Most of you probably associate the word skipper with Gilligan's Island, and I can tell you it's a little bit different. You can see this picture here. This is me kind of rounding the tip of South America, Cape Horn. Cape Horn is a majestic place for all sailors. Fewer people have actually rounded Cape Horn in a sailboat than have summited Mount Everest. This was part of the Volvo Ocean Race, which is a 40,000-mile race around the world. It stops in 10 different places. It's on a 65-foot carbon rocket ship with 80 of your closest friends. But while I was doing the Volvo Ocean Race, I got in touch with a program called 11th Hour Racing. 11th Hour Racing is a division of the Schmidt Family Foundation that promotes sustainability in the sport of sailing. One of the things that we personally champion as ocean racers within the sport of sailing is the problem of marine plastics. We're kind of like the canaries in the coal mine. I mean, we can speak to it credibly. Racing around the world, we've seen some pretty serious things out there. As I said, we go to 10 different places, 40,000 miles. It's a way to kind of spread the word, throughout the world. We're working with 11th Hour Racing and other corporate sponsors to get back to the start line of the Volvo Ocean Race, which starts in October of 2017, just 16 months from now. So that's it for me.
Great, thank you. Brody.
Hi everyone, thanks for sticking with us. My name's Brody Leven. I need this guy, thank you. You'll learn more about my activism side of things, I think, over the next hour, but I want to give you a little bit of an insight into what I do and why it is that I care about this. That's me, not at the Pro Bowl, but instead by myself in the mountains, which is where I spend most of my time. I'm a professional ski mountaineer, meaning I climb and ski mountains all over the world. No chairlifts, helicopters. I'm not jumping out helicopters or snowmobiles or snowcats or anything like that. Instead, all of my adventures are human-powered, which means I frequently ice climb or snow climb or rock climb to get to the top of a mountain and then ski back down. This, for example, is the northernmost volcano on Earth, which is up in the Arctic Circle. Charlie and I were just talking about it. I sailed there last winter, which is fun, going to the Arctic in the winter, to be one of the only people to ever climb and ski this volcano. And by I sailed there, I mean I sat seasick below deck, which is probably different than what Charlie says or talks about when he says he sails. And then I combine multi-sport activities. This is actually, again, in the Arctic last month up in Norway. I rode my bike through Arctic Norway with my skis in tow, and I'd climb and ski mountains from my bicycle. And this is usually done for magazines or TV shows or movies or whatever. On this trip, actually, my derailleur broke the second day of the trip, so I single-speeded my way through the Arctic with a 250-pound bicycle to climb and ski mountains. But why am I here, and why am I an authority to talk about these things? I'm good at two things. One is living in tents and going a really long time without showering. This was actually about 10 days ago in Kazakhstan at about 15,000 feet. We were trying to be the first people to climb and ski this mountain. And this is the next morning, still hadn't showered, obviously. And the other thing I do is use the platform that I've created for myself, through myself and my partner brands and my sponsors, to really try to engage with both my fans, their fans, and the general public. I do a lot of speaking to school children and corporations and universities, and I always tie in two messages. One is avalanche awareness, because that is my nemesis in life, and the other one is environmental education. So that's what we're here to talk about today. Thanks.
Fantastic. Anya.
Hi. Okay. Where do I? There we go.
There you go.
Whoops, I got a little trigger happy. So my name's Anya Alvarez. As my introduction said, I used to play golf professionally on the LPGA. Now I write mostly full time, and I still am involved with golf still quite a bit. I teach a lot of clinics. But in terms of how I got involved with GSA specifically, just a background story. Aubrey McCormick, who was here, and she was moderating a panel today. She's one of my best friends. I met her about 6 years ago on a show called Big Break Atlantis, which was a Golf Channel reality competition show. For those that aren't familiar with it, it's kind of like Golf Survivor. And I met Aubrey at the airport in Bahamas, and she was reading a book in line, and I thought, I think I could be friends with that girl. And I didn't know that at that time that she was actually going to be on the show that we were both participating on, because we hadn't met any of the other contestants yet. And as soon as we met each other, we became fast friends, and she was the one that kind of brought me to the awareness of sustainability and the impact that golf can have on the environment. And so that was her cause, and I've been friends with her since, and she told me about this summit, and I wanted to write about it, so I reached out to the Green Sports Alliance, and I said, hey, I'd really love to cover story and write about what you're doing. And then they asked me to be on the panel, and I had to contemplate for a little bit, because to be frank with you, I still don't know that much about sustainability. I Googled it and got a very verbatim definition, and I realized that I have so much to learn. So going to the panels and learning from everybody these last couple days has been a really enriching experience for me, and just realizing the role that athletes have to use their voice to help protect things that are really sacred that we sometimes take for granted, and also to parlay that into Major League Women, which is a sports platform that my friend Shasta and I started. I guess you would call us like people that are for social sustainability. Our goal is to get more women involved in sports, and I think that is so crucial for the future of sports, and making sure that women have a place in the sports world. And so that's what we've continued to work on. Then, this slide right here is kind of my personality. I like to be a little goofy, be different, and so this is very different for me to be here. And that's me teaching, saving people's golf swings. And so that's pretty much it on my end in terms of social sustainability and environmental sustainability, and I'm really excited to be here.
Well, how about we give it up for all four of them, because what they're all doing is amazing. Great stuff, great stories. Jim hit on it. I want to, a theme this morning was the role that athletes can play in kind of moving these causes forward, or some athletes choosing not to play a role. So I want to start with that. There's a hint there of why you all got involved, but talk a little bit about the role that you can play to move the needle forward, and maybe what you think is the reluctance of maybe some of your peers in athletics to get involved in some of these causes. Jump ball, anyone get involved?
I think the role that athletes can play is clearly seen in the NFL when you look at the fact that now almost every year I have 11, 12, 13-year-old boys dying for some pink gloves for me. They want some pink shoes. They want some pink wristbands. And if you look at that, like, you want all my pink gear, my pink NFL gear. Why? Because Tom Brady's wearing pink stuff during Breast Cancer Month, and Peyton Manning's wearing pink helmets in Breast Cancer Month, and everyone's wearing these pink stuff. 5, 10 years ago, you couldn't get all these young, macho, prepubescent, boys to say, I want to wear pink shirts, pink shorts, pink shoes, pink all this stuff. But because their favorite player, because the person they look up to, because their sports star says it's cool, all of a sudden, guess what? It's cool. So imagine if what happened with the breast cancer movement in the NFL, with the Breast Cancer Awareness Month, if we even had a week or even a day in the NFL where everyone had to wear, environmentally friendly or green wristbands or green shoes or recycled plastic jerseys and all this stuff, this technology is out there right now. Imagine if we had paraphernalia where the coaches are wearing hats made from recycled bottles from Coke or whoever. If we can get that to happen, something like that, that's when you get the engagement of the youth and of the fans and make it mainstream. And I say that because I've been kind of fighting to try and do that. I've been pushing the NFL for NFL Green Week because the NBA is doing it.
Right.
NBA has Green Week. And I've been pushing the NFL for a while to try and do that, but it's a little bit hard because there's a large organization and everyone's pulling at them, and they know it's important, but they still don't know how important it is. So Scott Jenkins and several great people who are fighting the good fight, we're going to make it happen. But I think the hesitance is, at least in the NFL, there's just so many great causes out there, and people don't see this as an urgent one because everything's moving so slowly for them. They're like, global warming's not that bad. The carbon footprint's not a big deal. Climate change will happen later. Yeah, they see and these are all great causes, when cancer and diabetes and obesity, and they're like, I'm just going to jump there because I see it right now. I'm going to jump there because I see it right now. I'm going to use my time here because I see it right now. So we can get them to understand the urgency of our environmental movement, then we can get more involvement, especially in the NFL world.
Well, I was just to say that's what you and I were talking about just before we walked up on stage, is that people don't see the immediacy of climate change and some of the green causes. I mean, breast cancer touches a lot of people. It's an immediate emotional reaction and something people can get behind. But sometimes the sustainability efforts get a little lost in the shuffle. One thing for me personally that's tangible is that you play your sport on a field. I play my sport on the water, and for me to sail through parts of Southeast Asia and see trash in the water that hinders our competition, the problems of marine debris are real, and you can see them and we can change them, whether it's through beach cleanups at the 10 stopovers we have, whether it's through just using the kind of stature that we have as athletes to communicate the problems. I mean, there are tangible things that we can do, certainly.
I think Ovie addresses a really good point that there are so many issues out there that are worthy of the public's attention. And you play on the field, you play on the water, you care about the water, you care about the field. I play on the snow, I care about the snow. And I think there are enough well-known athletes out there, well-known teams out there that we can address each of these issues. And while the people in this room may think that climate change is what the most important one is and that all the athletes should be touching on that, instead I think the athletes that care about that should be touching on that. And the athletes that care about breast cancer should be addressing that. And I think that's a benefit to the size of the sports industry, that there are so many athletes and so many issues to address.
But at times they're reluctant to speak on those things. They could be political. It could be they don't feel comfortable talking about that.
Yeah, I think that is a key thing. Sometimes different sides and different interests use the environmental movement. We all know it, as a political thing where it's a Democrat issue or it's a Republican issue or it's not a Democrat issue, not a Republican issue. And so people, or athletes especially, I know because I went up to Matt Ryan, I went up to Roddy White, went to Michael Turner, my players. I said, hey guys, I'm doing an event. It's a green tailgate where people teach people how to tailgate responsibly, what to do with the trash. I want you guys to come out, and they're like, I got to check with my marketing guy. Check with your marketing guy. He's like, I just want to make sure it's not going to offend anybody. I'm like, supporting the environment is not going to offend people. It's like, well, some groups like it, some groups don't. I'm like, really? And so that is unfortunately an issue for some athletes because they want all fans to be their fans. They don't want to alienate anybody by saying this, that, or the third. So we have to make sure we help them understand how this is not a political issue and don't let small groups make it a political issue. Everyone breathes air. Everyone lives on our planet. Everyone wants our planet to be as healthy as possible for the next generation and the next generation. And don't make that just lip service. Actually make that a part of who you are and make that something that you take the actions to make it a reality. So that's key.
I think yesterday during our athlete engagement meeting that we had, we touched on that some. And one thing for me personally, as being an outsider to the sustainability world, is that I always did think it was a political issue. And I didn't realize it more as a social issue. And coming here to this summit and meeting all these incredible people with completely different backgrounds makes me realize that everybody has a place within sustainability. There's an issue for everyone that you can advocate for it, and I think for athletes that's something that is really important to get them involved with the issue, is to show that there's something for them within sustainability. It doesn't have to be the whole environment, but whether it's someone that just loves fishing and they want to protect their, their sacred grounds of where they like to, in Oklahoma we catch catfish, but something like that, and making it a personal connection with them, I think, is the most important thing.
I think the fact that it's politicized or a partisan issue isn't a problem. I think we're not going to change the fact that it is. It's partisan, or it's uneducated versus educated, whatever it is. I don't think we're going to change that. And I think asking athletes who are not naturally inclined to support the environment, I mean, that's what we do anyways. We're trying to kind of convert people from not caring about the environment to caring about it. That's hard enough doing that to the public. But doing that to someone who's in the spotlight and has a marketing guy telling him whether or not he's allowed to talk about that is a whole nother problem. So I think what we need to do, both in the GSA and beyond, in your teams and in your stadiums, is talk to the athletes who are already inclined to do this and let them make the move. Because trying to switch someone who's in the public spotlight, switch their opinion, and then ask them to be outspoken about it might be a bit much, I think.
So, go ahead.
I think another key thing about that, to find out who is inclined, is that we have to get them the information. Because a lot of players, and I was the first person they'd spoken to regarding the environment. I didn't do it when I was with the Ravens, but with the Falcons, I got there in 2008, had my conversation with Laura and Ted, and really got involved in Captain Planet, then wanted to do my own thing and use sports to promote sustainability. And so I was excited about it, but like you, I didn't know much. I just got involved, and I'd feel bad. I'd be invited to these big green events, and I'm like, I just got into the green space, and I don't know that much. And people would be saying, don't say you're an environmentalist, could you drive this car? I'm like, well, I'm sorry, I already have the car. And you need to ride your bike to practice, or else you're not green. I'm like, I gotta be, use my legs for football, so I can't ride a bike there. So I got negativity from people, like social media. And I was like, am I okay in this space? And I see why some people don't want to get in this space, because you don't know everything that you think you need to know, and you don't want to be a hypocrite, but you do want to help. So it's like, do I jump all in? Do I jump all out? But getting players information so we can find the ones, have them rise to the top and see who really wants to do this is something that we need to get better at.
Because there's a perception that you could be seen as non-genuine.
Yes.
Well, yeah, I think that's the biggest thing. You alluded to it, is you should get behind a cause that you genuinely believe in and not be told that you should believe in it for the following reasons. I mean, I don't know that there's necessarily a reluctance among athletes to get involved. I just think that it's something that's unfortunately not on their radar. It's something that they maybe perceive as being too big to tackle. Just the political aspect of it is interesting to me, because it's something that I hadn't really thought of until I got here. But I mean, that's a platform in and of itself, to just kind of, if you told Matt Ryan, hey, listen, your platform could be, sustainability transcends politics. That shouldn't offend anybody.
So we talked this morning about win-wins, areas of progress. So where are you seeing areas of progress through your efforts? And Brody, I know you went to Paris for I believe it's the Climate Change Council or something like that. Did you feel that was a big step in your efforts?
Yeah, I mean, I went to Paris for COP21, representing the entire snow sports industry, this massive industry, right? And I think the fact that, so what I know best is skiing and snowboarding in the outdoor industry, and there's progress being made there. There are multiple groups. There's the Surf Riders Foundation, right, which is a huge organization that's put together by surfers just about environmental issues. There's Protect Our Winters for skiers and snowboarders, and this is working in the outdoor space, which is very different than the football space or the baseball space. But in the outdoor industry, it is working. And granted, we have, I think, a following, a consumer base that's definitely inclined to support the environment, because they are outside in it every day. They're not going from their house to the stadium, watching the game, and driving home. Instead, they're going to their ski resort and realizing, there's no snow. Skiing's hard. and the fact that we have this audience that's I think maybe easier to persuade is helping us, but it is working. So thus, if there's an audience that's harder to persuade, it should also work.
Charlie, you seeing some signs of progress in terms of your work on ocean cleanup?
Yeah, definitely. Whether it's just through
Awareness or?
yeah, awareness, but certainly beach cleanups as well. I mean, some of it definitely needs to be top down. I mean, you see a lot of the marine debris in centers of population density. You know, we talked about it before, just where, you know, emerging economies, their waste management systems can't keep up with the disposal of their recent productivity. So, I mean, it's tough to change in a day, you know, as we discussed. I mean, if there was trash sitting here in Minute Maid Park, you'd go around and pick it up in a day. But, I mean, our race course, you know, our playing field, you know, are the world's oceans. So it's totally different. But just to speak to one thing that you mentioned about, you know, like being scared to get behind sustainability for fear of being a hypocrite. You know, it's like I drive a truck, so I can't be behind sustainability. I mean, some things exist, you know. I think acknowledging that first and foremost is a big step, you know, and then trying to make incremental change and make the best of a situation. I think everybody should be able to get behind that.
I work in the sports business, and I will tell you that I find it an incredibly challenging marketplace for diversity, both ethnic and gender diversity. Are you seeing any areas? I mean, we're seeing progress in your areas with women, get more women playing sports.
So there's definitely a lot of media, like ESPN, they created ESPNW.
Right.
I think it was about 5, maybe 6 years ago that was in place. So I think there's more of an interest in people wanting to learn about women in sports, but actually coverage has gone down in terms of media coverage in the last 10 years. So it's kind of an uphill battle. I think kind of tying into, you know, the cause of sustainability, sometimes people are really short-sighted and they want to know how they can make money right away, and they don't see the immediate benefits of why we should pay attention to women in sports or why we should pay attention to sustainability. And for me, with what we're trying to do with getting women involved and also getting people to care about women in sports is giving them a platform to tell their stories, because I think having an emotional connection is the main key to anything. And if you connect with the cause, if you connect with the person, then you're more likely to care about it. And I think in that respect, there is an interest in it. I definitely seen interest, and little girls that I talk to are so excited to see ESPNW articles now, and parents are sharing those articles with their daughters as well. And so because it's out there now, but there's still a lot of work to be done.
Yeah, speaking about gender and ethnic diversity in the green space, I mean, sorry, look in the room. There's very few people of color in here, and there should be a lot more. And I definitely noticed it being in Atlanta, working with Laura Turner Seidel, and I told her, all right, I'm in. If you say you can't love your kids without loving the environment, I'm in. I love my kids. I'll do anything for them. And I realized that I was trying to give them the best of everything. You know, the best food, the best car seat, the best house, the best clothes, but I never try to give them the best environment. And I realized that it doesn't matter how many touchdowns I scored, how many millions of dollars I made, doesn't matter what I did, my kids breathe the same air as the kids in downtown Atlanta. So there's nothing I can do with my accolades that would get them a better quality of life with our planet. So I've got to do something else. So I followed Laura around everywhere, went to workshops, went to seminars, went to events, and read all the videos she sent me. But every event I went to, I was the only dark face in the room. I was the only person of color in the room, maybe 2 or 3, and that's in Atlanta. And I'm like, why are there not more, you know, African Americans involved in the green space and the green movement?
Why?
And I think big part of the reason is, and this is why I try to address my foundation, at a young age, we aren't being given the resources. It's not being pushed in our households, and it's something that we feel like is not our issue. That's somebody else's issue. That's a rich person's problem. That's a white person's problem. That's someone else's problem. But I found out that the kids who care the least about the environment are the ones who are affected the most by the environment. They have the landfills in their neighborhood, the coal plants in their neighborhood. They have higher rates of asthma. They have to deal with random diseases they can't pronounce or spell. And as opposed to just dealing with the negative effects, dealing with the problems, why not be part of the solution? So we use sports as a Trojan horse to go in there and get kids excited about sports, and then we turn it around and say, hey, by the way, the environment is something that you guys can save green and make green by going green with. Let's try to do this. And so we try to make it fun for them. But we have to find a way to get more diversity all the way around, I think sports is a key.
And you're all talking so passionately about what you strongly believe in. What are the frustrations in your efforts? What frustrates you about your inability maybe to break through with your messaging? Is it media exposure? Is it media attention? Money?
Money.
I mean,
It's
getting
definitely-
support and getting sponsors or getting people to underwrite what you're trying to do?
Right, kind of like what I mentioned earlier, it's getting people to see the long-term benefits of what you're trying to do. And I think for me, that's the hardest thing, is getting people to believe in what I'm trying to sell them, and why it's so important to get more women involved in sports, and why it's important to tell their stories. I think in terms of frustration on my end too, there's a lot of sexism that is in the sports world that we have to kind of fight up against every single day. If you go through my Twitter feed, some of the things that I receive on my end are, it's atrocious. I wouldn't want my niece to read it. So that for me is the biggest uphill battle, is working in a very male-dominated industry and getting the men to see why it's important too.
For me, it's reach, and I think that's where a lot of you guys come in, because maybe you have a member of your team or a member of your organization who could be on stage right now, who does care about the environment, but they may not know how to get their word out there as well, and maybe they have 5 million Twitter followers, or maybe they do know, what they truly care about and they want to get it out there, but you're running the stadium that they're playing in, or you're their team manager, or whatever it is. And I think the fact that you have the venue to give them a channel for their voice is really important. That's not something to be ignored, because sometimes we have a lot on our plates as athletes. We need to be specialists in our sport. We also need to be our own brand. We also need to work with the partner brands that we're functioning under. But if we have some sort of altruistic message that we want to share, I think it's something that you guys can take and burden the burden on your shoulders as well, because it's an important thing for all of us.
Yeah, I definitely agree with the reach. I'm sitting up here as a sailor. It's a pretty small world. So the only chance, hey, thanks, man. The only chance we really have to spread the message is to grow the sport. And the only way for us to grow the sport is to make it more accessible to everybody. In the last edition of the Volvo Ocean Race that I just completed, there was an all-women's team, which I think is a great start. The team that won had an Emirati sailor from the United Arab Emirates. I mean, that's a great start. There was a team with 3 Chinese sailors, which is different than what you normally think of when you think of the sport of sailing. It's not only gender and ethnicity. I mean, it's people from all kinds of socioeconomic, backgrounds. I mean, community sailing centers, making the water more accessible, and starting from a young age and at the beginning of your involvement with the sport, with the sustainability criteria, I think is important.
Absolutely. I definitely agree. Money is a frustration. I think reach is a frustration. Also, I think apathy, indifference is a frustration. And for me,
From the public.
From the public, yeah, from the public. Not in here, obviously. Athletes too. But for me, it's much more personal. And for those who've heard my story before, my youngest 2 children were born 2 and 3 months premature, and came out at 2 and 3 pounds, and were just itty bitty little things, little red things that stayed in the NICU. And I was watching them as a father. When you bring children into the world, it's your job to take care of them. Like I said, to give them the best, make sure they're protected. And when the doctor told me that, yeah, they can be out in a month, actually, we did a test of the air quality in Atlanta, and since their lungs weren't born fully matured, the particulates in the air are in a space where it'd be harmful to them. So they got to stay for another month and a half. So I'm sitting here waiting for 2 months, almost 3 months, just waiting for my children to come to my house because of this air quality thing that I really didn't understand, didn't really know about, didn't really think was an issue I should be concerned or care about. And I realized that what I did not do directly affected my children, and I'm never gonna let that happen again. So I'm putting every ounce of effort, energy, and ability I have into making sure that not only my kids, but my grandkids and their grandkids can live in a world I can be proud of. And so you shouldn't have to have that personal experience to make it real to you. But I feel like if everyone did, everyone would be environmentalists. So I guess the frustration is just trying to make people see that without having to go through something like that.
So how much has social helped increase your reach? I mean, I'll just to talk to you, Brody. If you haven't followed, I'm sure all of you have great Instagram accounts. I probably should have signed up. But if you haven't signed up to his Instagram account,
Just
phenomenal.
at Brody Leven, that's Leve.
I mean, I felt like I was around the world in 2 minutes after being with him. But that has to have helped get your messaging out.
Yeah, I mean, I created a career from scratch based largely off social media because the type of skiing I do is done in the mountains by myself or with myself and one partner. It's not exactly done in front of millions of people on TV every week. And because of that, I've used it also to not only share my story, but to share the stories of the things that I care about, to share the stories of the brands that sponsor me. And through these channels, I'm able to hit more people than I would be hitting on a daily basis in the mountains. And that goes back to the storytelling aspect that's been mentioned multiple times. That's like part of like my work title is Storyteller, right? And that's because I try to incorporate these authentic stories of what I'm doing in the mountains while tying in environmental messages. So if I just came back from Kazakhstan last week and we went to ski a mountain that the glacier had almost completely receded on since the last time someone was there 30 years ago, that's an issue that's worthy of being shared, right? And it doesn't have to be only read by environmentalists. Instead, like, people, the skiers want to know what I was trying to ski in Kazakhstan, and if I'm able to kind of slip this other message in there, I think it's able to hit a greater number of people.
Yeah, I think that resonates with a little bit, of what I do. Sailing around the world, we basically leave one particular port, one particular stopover, and sail to another one over the course of 30 days. And we actually have an onboard reporter embedded in our team whose job it is to carry the GoPro, to come up with the content, to create the return on investment for the sponsors that allow us to do this. And social media is definitely an avenue for getting that out there in a way of touching more people.
Any questions you have from the audience? We've got about 10 minutes left. Right here, if we have some microphones, I think we got one coming your way. There's a woman right here who has a question. Thank you.
I think your point about educating before pressuring people to change is really important. And so my question is, as athletes, what channel and maybe what person is the best to choose to get this message out to athletes in a way that they'll listen to it and see it really genuine, rather maybe just a sustainability person coming in and trying to preach it, but someone that you really trust and would learn from in the best way?
So who's a good gatekeeper to the athlete to get the messaging through? That's a good question. I mean, is it the agent? Is it the team? Is it a friend? What's the best way?
Is that what you mean, to access the athletes, or do you mean who's actually supplying them with the information?
For you as an athlete, for the athletes that you're with who don't know about this issue, who would be the best people to teach?
Oh, who would be the best people to teach?
I think the team, for me, and the Falcons are, Falcons, Seahawks, Eagles, there's some of the NFL teams that are doing a lot more in the green space. I know that now when rookies come in, we have, because on Tuesdays is our off day, and they want to know, all right, you have to go, you don't have to, but it's good for you to go out there and do something in the community. What are you interested in? And they have everything from, homeless shelters or the elderly or the youth or the kids. And once you check off kids, like, all right, if you want to help kids, you're going to help them in these ways. And the environment is one of the ways that they offer to players. And so I think it's perfect for the teams, community organizations or community outreach programs to provide the information for anyone who's interested. But you have to make sure you link the two and say, if you want to help kids, the environment is something that will help them. Here's some information about it. Because if you don't make that connection and they don't see the environment as anything, link it to anything that they care about, they're going to skip by it every single time.
Is that kind of what your question is, or are you asking if they want to know about a children's cause, who do they go to learn about that children's cause? Or, I'm sorry, I just want to make sure they have the question.
There's a lot of athletes that don't know about this, and as a college athlete, I feel like definitely when it comes from your teammates or your coach, it means a lot more than if a sustainability director came and talked to you about it. So at the pro level, who's telling you, or who is the best person to tell you, and then how can maybe the people in this room tell those people so that then they'll listen to the people that you will?
I think for me, I would have, looking back on it during my time when I played on LPGA, I probably would have had a little bit more awareness of sustainability if they had some sort of information for the players. But golf is such an individual sport too. We don't have team practice. We don't meet with coaches. Like, you have to do everything on your own. And the LPGA basically supplies, just sets up the events for you to go to. And sometimes they have community outreach things that they do in different cities, but I don't remember a single one that was about the environment, and that's definitely something that the golf community could probably work on in terms of reaching out to its players on tour to engage them a little bit more.
Brody or Charlie, any thoughts on that question?
The outdoor industry is inundated with organizations and groups and information. So if an athlete cared and wanted to share that with their followers, it'd be very easy for them to find that information. As far as myself goes, I don't find it my responsibility to convince other athletes, because the people who are more inclined to listen to my message would be the fans, not the athletes. The athletes have their own egos that are bigger than mine, but the fans are more inclined to listen. Bigger than mine, yeah.
I didn't laugh about that. I thought it was very, very interesting. Good quote. Another question. Any questions? All right, so I do want to ask, we have less than 7 minutes, so where? Okay, yep, right here. Okay, great. Thank you.
So I just want to say thank you very much, guys, for all the fantastic job you are doing. I'm really from the bottom of my heart. Don't give up, never give up. Don't see these horrible comments on Twitter or Facebook. Please go ahead, work for the mountains, for the oceans, for the children of our children. And really, really thank you. You have the voice, you have the power to change this world, and thank you very much.
Well done.
Can I say something to that real quick?
Absolutely.
When we go to DC and talk to our elected officials, the first thing that kind of our handler from the NRDC or the EPA or whatever says is that this room full of 6 people are professional skiers and snowboarders, and their social reach is 10 million people with any post that they have, or whatever the number is. And I think that's I think it's a really interesting point, is that if as soon as one of us drops out, that's a significant number of people dropping out. But more importantly, as soon as one person joins this fight, that's a significant number of people that we're hitting again. And so not that it's about quantity, but quantity doesn't hurt. And so if each of you, it's a kind of a call to action, I think. If each of you in your organizations or your stadiums can find the one athlete who really cares, I think that's going to help the positive message.
Question over the corner.
So being athletes and using the sport as a platform, you have to understand that the sport comes first, being that athlete. So how do you manage the time for you to actually produce on the field or on the mountain or wherever the platform is for the sport itself, but to also promote sustainability to the best of your ability to maximize the time away from the actual sport?
Yeah, I can speak to that a little bit. One of the things that 11th Hour Racing tries to do is they try to basically align the competitive incentives of a particular team with the cause of sustainability. So we try to show that sustainability can be a winning and efficient practice, if that makes sense. So if you can prove that it saves money towards your campaign, reducing your carbon footprint saves money towards your campaign, and therefore you have more money to spend on X, and you end up winning the race. I mean, that's what gets people involved. I find, at least.
I think also trying to make sure that the athletes know this is something that we don't want you to do extraordinary amounts of time on. When you have free time, the time that you've allotted to give back to the community, just have this be something that you choose to do, because you're going to give back in different ways. And like you said, you have to already love what you're doing. And almost all athletes I know, they love youth, they love children, they love kids. They always grew up wanting to say, when I get to a point of where I can influence people, I'm gonna reach back down and help them out. And if you tell them that there's no bigger way to help out than this, then the little time they have free, which is for NFL players on Tuesdays, they'll say, all right, I'm not speaking about sustainability during games, I'm not doing it while I'm working out, I'm doing it on my off day in my 3 hours that are set aside for giving back. So long as you let them understand that you don't want them to save the world in one day, but just do their little part by getting the word out, they can help.
Less than 4 minutes, so we're going to finish up here with some quick hitters. I thought it'd be fun because we saw a little bit of the scope of their adventures. Real briefly, before I ask you what's next in your lives and your careers, give us a sense of your most memorable either accomplishment on the field, your most memorable adventure, your most memorable time on the water. Just briefly give a quick story. Start.
Oh boy. Oh God, I got to travel to some pretty incredible places. But in terms of just a funny story, so for people that aren't familiar with professional golf and what it is like to be on the road, we stay with host families quite a bit. And I was playing in a Pro-Am tournament, and I was talking with my partner, and I was telling him who I was staying with, which was a member at the club. And he said, "Oh, I know that person. I'll take you to their house when we're done playing." So I followed him to the house. He just left. I knocked on the door. This guy answered the door, and I said, "Hi, I'm your player for the week. I'm staying with you." And he just looked at me with these like deer in the headlights, and he goes, "Okay." And I said, "I just got off the phone with your wife." He goes, "My wife is out of town." And I said, "Okay, well, here's your laundry," because he had a laundry bag that was sitting on his front porch. So anyway, he let me in, and he showed me around the house and gave me the Wi-Fi password, showed me the kitchen where I could get beer if I needed anything to eat. I went into the bedroom, fell asleep, and about an hour later, there's a knock on the door, and it was a lady, and I heard my name, Anya, Anya. And I kind of came to. She goes, "Hi, I'm your host lady. You're at the wrong house."
Solid. So you left, or you stayed there?
I left.
Brody, I mean, I know it's not going to compare.
Last winter there was a full solar eclipse that was happening. It was only visible in 2 parts of the world, both up in the Arctic. And we had a crazy photographer whose idea was to try to get an image of a skier skiing on a ridgeline silhouetted by the solar eclipse. And nothing like this had ever been done before. So in the middle of winter, we once again went to the Arctic and camped on a glacier for a month for an event that took 2.5 minutes. The eclipse was 2.5 minutes long, and one cloud would have ruined the shot, obviously, if it had blocked the moon. And it's known to have 3 clear days a year. And so we're like, "Oh, yeah, we'll go." So I got frostbite. We were there for a month. And did we get the shot? There's a movie called Eclipse out there. You're welcome to go watch it.
Awesome.
No, I'm just kidding. Yeah, we got the shot.
Awesome.
There is a movie, but yeah, we got the shot. It was a photo of the year, cover shot. It was beautiful.
Fantastic. Charlie.
Yeah, it's funny you're talking about the Arctic. I mean, my moment probably comes closer to the Antarctic. In the Southern Ocean, it's kind of the most, in my opinion, one of the most treacherous places on the planet. I talked a little bit about Cape Horn before, but if you make it to Cape Horn, that's pretty good. And to do it on a day like we did, leading the fleet, to do it where you could even take a picture of it. You know, we sail at night too, so to get there during the day, pretty iconic place, pretty cool thing for us. But what you're celebrating when you get there is the fact that you've been to this place called Point Nemo, which is the point in the world that's furthest from land, anywhere. And that place is between Auckland, New Zealand, and the southern tip of South America, Cape Horn. So to be down below on this boat, you know, for 30 days at a time, 15 days across, looking down at the little map on the computer, and to realize that the only person that's going to help you out is your competitors, because no one else goes down there. No tankers, no nothing. Just that feeling of isolation is probably the craziest thing I've ever felt.
Fantastic. Ovie.
Yeah, for me, it was one of the pictures you saw when I was in Hawaii at the Pro Bowl, and it was my first time going to the Pro Bowl. It was maybe my 8th year in the NFL, and you fight your whole career to be recognized as the best of what you do, and you never really know if you'll get there, but I finally got there, and it was an amazing experience. Like I said, all the people I've watched my whole career are sitting there I'm eating lunch with. Like, literally, Peyton Manning's right here. Like, he's right here. And, like, we're talking, and him and his blockhead are joking, and we're just having fun. And I'm like, it's just an amazing experience, but even more amazing because my parents were there. But in the game, you know, Vegas has all these bets and everything else, like who's going to have the first touchdown, who's going to do the second and third, and so there was a bet in Vegas who's going to score the first touchdown in the 2011 Pro Bowl, and we had, like, I was blocking for Adrian Peterson, and, you know, is Tom Brady going to score, or is Peyton going to, or whatever, and so we're on the NFC side, we get to the 5-yard line, And Michael Turner is one of my tailbacks as well because he made the Pro Bowl the same year. And so I'm like, Mike, don't score, man. Give me a chance. Like, I'm gonna let you score. I'm gonna score because we had a little pot where whoever scored first got some like $1,000, nothing big. And so Mike went and got to the 1 yard line, and then it came to the next play. I'm in the huddle, and Drew Brees was our quarterback. I'm like, Drew, call my number. He's like, I can't call. Coach has to. He's like, all right, well, what is it? It's 32 dive. Ovie, you're up. And so, of course, I got into the end zone, so they called my name, got the ball, ran to like 4 or 5 guys, and it's the Pro Bowl, so we go kind of halfway. We don't go all the way. So all the other defenses, they was going like, we'll tackle you, whatever. I was like, get off me, I'm going to score. Got in the end zone, did a big old spike. I was pointing at my parents and everything else. I got the little pot, but I turned around, all the defensive guys looking at me like, dude, calm down. It's just a game.
Just a Pro Bowl.
Just a game. Like, no, this is the first time here.
Awesome.
So that was a big thing for me.
Great story. So you see that the panelists can see that we have all zeros showing, but take 2 seconds and give the audience what's next for you. What's next?
What's next for me is really trying to get more players involved. I want more NFL players involved, and so my wife and I, with our foundation, we have a big field day, another green tailgate coming up this fall, and we're going to working with Scott Jenkins and working with the Falcons and kickball, sack races, everything. We're just going to have fun, tailgate, and invite a lot of people to understand why the environment is important to them.
Awesome. Charlie, what's next?
Immediately next is I'm on a flight tonight to Brazil for for a sponsor dinner tomorrow night on some island I've never been to. But that's in an effort to get back to the start line for the Volvo Ocean Race and to kind of continue to be a microphone for sustainability and specifically the cause of ocean plastics.
Awesome. Brody.
I'm going to continue to seek out on Google Earth just the random, most remote mountains in the world. Try to figure out how I can get there without getting too seasick, climb them, ski them safely, and hopefully come back to tell a story that will help promote the environmental message that we're all here for.
Anya.
I actually was talking to Brody yesterday, though, about a mountain in Oklahoma that I think he should. It's called Turkey Mountain, so I'm hoping that I see it on his Instagram page soon.
The Wikipedia page actually makes fun of it.
Yeah.
For calling it a mountain.
But for me, what's next is I'm going to continue developing Major League Women and hopefully turn it into a very multifaceted platform where women can share their stories and where people can be really engaged into the lives of female athletes.
Awesome. Well, great panel, fantastic storytellers, and best of luck to each of you. And I'm turning it back over to Jim. So thank you very much.
Thanks, guys. Sit tight. You can hang right there. You don't even have to get up and leave. This was awesome. Another round of applause, huh? So, quick recap. We heard about the urgency and immediacy being a tough thing to communicate about. So many issues. Don't want to offend. Who is inclined? Not on their radar. Got to improve the air for my kids. Where are the people of color? Sports is a Trojan horse. Find one person who cares. And then my favorite moments, camping for a month in the Arctic, sailing farthest from a place in the Antarctica, lunch with Peyton Manning and acting crazy after touchdown, and staying in the right house. All right, so thanks to all of our speakers for the whole conference. Thanks to you guys, our attendees. Thanks to all our volunteers, the on-site staff, our great sponsors, our presenting sponsor, Dow Chemical Company, and our sports greening sponsors, UPS NatureWorks and Aramark, all of our sponsors. Our zero waste partner, Waste Management, 79% of all materials used at this summit were either recycled or composted, not bad. And then the moment I know you've all been waiting for, the Partnership Stories Awards. We had 2 stories, and I'm going to offer you the stories, and you are going to crowdsource the winner. So it's your vote. Story number 1, Linda, school teacher and founder of How Low Can You Go out of Florida, a 3-month school competition for reducing your energy and carbon footprint. They partner with the Miami Heat. She met an attendee here from the University of Florida, and now they're partnering to bring that program across the entire state of Florida to all the colleges and universities. So that's story A. And then story B, we'll applause at the end. Story B, Doug Hostler, met someone from Event Solutions, met someone from at the Dynamo game. The stadium tour left. He thought he missed it, and fortunately the Green Sports Alliance staff, woohoo, caught him up. And on the tour he met the vice president of operations for the Dynamo. Turns out both of their parents live in Nashville, and his parents are owners of an existing Irish bar that he goes to. And it turns out he has an interest in learning more about ISO 20121. Happens that Doug was trained in that at the London 2012 Olympics, and now they're talking about doing some work together there. So that's story B. So story A, Linda, how low can you go? Story B, Doug with the ISO 2121. Okay, round of applause for story A. Okay, great. Round of applause for story B. I think it's story A. All right, come on up. And we want to thank our sponsors who actually, I went around just informally and got you some prizes. Come on up. Where are you going? No, it's this way. Oh, great. Okay, great. All right, so we have thank you to UPS, one of these sustainable notebooks. Thank you to ABM, a water bottle, a koozie, and a shirt from the guys at Recover. And this is a cool shirt because it's Portland Trailblazers Rip City shirt. Okay. A pair of Tread-Agains. They'll leave a better footprint. I imagine these are probably made out of recycled materials. Whoever's got a size 9 or close to that feet. Okay, Recovered. Sorry. And then from our folks at Renew, Braves, also made from recycled Coke bottles, a Braves polo shirt. Not to be outdone, a container. Kitchen caddy from our friends at EcoSafe. You can put all your things in that. And this wonderful bag from the folks at Khirallah to carry everything in. All right? So congratulations. And remember, before I let you go, just a couple of quick pieces of logistics. We have a survey. We love stories. We want to hear your stories. Please let us know what you liked, what you didn't like, who you connected with, any stories that you have to tell us. On your way out, the lanyards and badges, if you turn them in, we will recycle them or reuse them. And most of all, for the next year, you partner with each other, you partner with people that you met here, and you come back next year to Sacramento and join us, and you tell us those stories. Thank you. All right.